Excellency.
Thank you very much. I do not want to join Honorable Gilbert Olanya in thanking the Attorney General for the courage. At another occasion, I will know how to deal with him. One, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the definition of a foreigner does not mean, but it includes. In my little memory of legislative drafting, when somebody says includes, the definition is so wide that it can incorporate and keep bringing in anybody, and that it will depend on who chooses to enforce the law to bring you into that bracket, as long as they use the word includes. So I wish the draftsman would be clearer to say it means the following people. I have already opined that probably you need to, even when it is ugly, Honorable Chidewa Chwanuka, you can quote it by removing the use of that word foreigner and criminalize activity as opposed to the profiling of the word foreigner. I know you always blunt, that's why you said you do not want to move in circles. But having been here longer than you, it is my advice that in legislation, that's what we do. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, is the definition of foreign interest is not there. When you do the collection for the Attorney General who does not want to meander, when you read the entire bill, you may get a glimpse of what foreign interests they are talking about. But for purposes of criminalizing, there is no definition of what amounts to foreign interest within the, if you read clause 1 and 5 together, which criminalizes. Now, with respect to, and I want to thank, I think the honorable folks, you said Owolweyo. I want to add to the question that he put across when he asked about foreign interest, but also the word sovereignty. You're talking about the protection of sovereignty bill. You also direct Ugandans to protect or promote, I think in clause 5, but you do not tell them in clause 5(3), a person shall not engage in any activity that promotes the interests of a foreigner against interests of Uganda. Now, when you leave ambiguity, you are literally making everybody a potential criminal. Because I don't know, I may not know the interests of those foreigners you're talking about. Supposing their interests rhyme with mine. You're talking about promoting democracy, rule of land, constitutionalism in this country. We may have shared values because this is a global village. So tell me, just be blunt, be audacious and shameless, put across what you want us to do. As subdued Ugandans, we shall oblige. But please do not make them ambiguous to make all of us potentially criminal. Then the activities again, in clause 5(4), clause 5, yes, 4. Again, be clear on which activities you're prohibiting. You don't simply say engage in any activity that promotes the interests of a foreigner. Then you say the person who promotes the interests of a foreigner against the interests of Ugandans commits an offense and is liable, blah, blah. The next comment I have relates to this business of seeking permission from the Minister of Internal Affairs. It has legal, political, and economic ramifications. For the benefit of these young brothers of mine, the ministers who were not there during the days of Idi Amin. Even when you sold your land to go and seek treatment abroad, you would go and line up in the minister's office to be permitted to buy foreign exchange. Some people died because the minister would take long to authorize or refuse. In other cases, the minister refused. And when the minister refused, you had no recourse. Today you can say you have recourse, you can go to a court of law where the Attorney General and I are participants, and you know the kind of backlog you have. By the time you get clearance from General Mohoz here, I don't know how much economic interest of Uganda you would have had. I want to implore them painfully, because they seem to be hell-bent on having the law go through. Why don't you simply legislate on a reporting requirement? We declare. I would have no problem with the word declaring. But if I must seek permission from the minister, assuming I'm a practicing lawyer, someone has paid me 500 million, then for me to require more payment, then I go to the minister. Secondly, I think Honorable Kauma from Miganga mentioned this, the promotion of corruption. Some people are doing business with foreigners. Business, some of which may involve exports of commodities, others services. Then for me to be able to get money, I must go and seek permission from the minister. There is a problem with that. The other question or comment, normally when you are making a legislation that has penal provisions, you also provide for defenses available. When you do not provide for defenses, you make it a strict liability offense for the individual. I don't know whether it is the intention of the Attorney General to make this law a strict liability offense. And of course, I have problems with telling somebody, you go register with the minister or register as a foreign agent. Really, have you taken us to those levels? Or do you see people going to register as agents of foreign interests? I don't see that happening. Then finally, what is government policy? Because we used to say, just write not a booklet, but give us a volume like you give us in your policy framework, so that we know what your policy is all about and we know how to walk the red thin thread. And then why don't you just be bold enough to declare which countries are hostile so that we don't deal with them? Previously, I remember in some election where you declared Rwanda a hostile state. I don't know if you have since removed it from the list. Just publish those countries that you consider hostile so that Ugandans avoid dealing with them, to avoid problems with you for as long as you are still around. There is this thing, this law called the Money Laundering Act, under which I think FIA, the Financial Intelligence Authority, and then the intelligence services have proceeded to block accounts of most of these NGOs, even without going to court. That law is in existence. Why wouldn't the Minister of Internal Affairs simply consider amending that? If you just want to monitor and provide sanctions without causing us these problems of having to fight. For me, as a person who fights to promote national interest and the policy even when I do not know it, I find it very difficult to defend this law with the clauses and even the name. So tell us, what is sovereignty? Which sovereignty you want us to enforce? Because you have made it a crime for me not to promote and protect the sovereignty as in the minds. Very, very finally, just to remind the Attorney General that there is a decision in this country of the Supreme Court that even when I tell a lie about and against the government, I may not have been patriotic, but I don't commit an offense. So are you not empowering whoever will be enforcing this law to use discretion, including arbitrary discretion, and criminalizing all Ugandans by making literally every activity across the borders presumably a criminal activity? I thank you.
Honorable Medat Ssegona, thank you so much. The MP Busiro. Very important. I actually thought you would also highlight, you touched on it, as a practicing
Attorney General, we need to be a little more flexible compared to how we proceed with others. Why? Because he's our legal interpreter as well. That's number one. And number two, by occupation, this is his bill. And there are some technical inputs that we would need from him before he disappears.
Before he takes leave, he won't disappear.
He might disappear from the committee room, and we're going to go into the writing, to retreat into writing.
Then let's give him a chance.
I am only asking, in clause 2D, 2D, or throughout the bill, would it not help if we simply clarified that we are prohibiting in activities that are adverse to the interests of the country, other than using blanketly the word foreign, as if everything foreign is bad? And then I think when he gets to answering my questions, he will answer on where the interests are mutual, because they could be foreign interests and Ugandan interests as well. But why don't we include the word adverse?
Okay, and the technical people are capturing. Honorable Fox, and let's give him a chance to.